Hello and welcome back to my look at Pumped and Primed. Now we're going to discuss the gameplay, but first I'd like to address something. I know I was intending to put this part up right with the other part, but I unfortunately got delayed on that. A lot of things came up in my life and, well, I think you know how it happens. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get on with the video. I mentioned in the previous video that it plays like a more combat-heavy Mario Party, right? Well, now let's go over the multiple events that take place in the game. First of all, you have Race to the Finish, which is basically just running through a platforming level and trying to reach the end before everyone else. Next, you have Collect the Coins to the Finish, which is pretty much like the first one, but you're trying to collect the most coins before you reach the finish line. Next is one of my personal favorites, Tank Fight. You're just in a tank and trying to blow people up. The environments are always pretty interesting because there's lots of walls you can take cover behind. Then there are the underwater fights, which is probably what I'm worst at. They're actually pretty fun, but I just am not that good at it. Picture when Spike went into water to capture monkeys. That's pretty much how it controls. Next we have... No, it can't be possible! They wouldn't put it in here! No! Can't believe I'm saying this. Raft racing. They put raft racing in this game. Could we just deflate every raft in the Ape Escape universe and be done with it? If you love the raft and Ape Escape games, leave me a comment and tell me why you like it, because it is the worst vehicle they ever made. Alright, and last of course we have Free-For-All. In Free-For-All, all you have to do is take out the other players with any methods you have. These areas can be either small, which leads to lots of melees, or they can be very large, and you might be able to be more strategic by using the sling-back shooter and trying to take out your enemies from a distance. Actually, now is a good time to talk about the gadgets and the controls briefly. Now, there aren't nearly as many gadgets as there were in the other Ape Escape games, but that's understandable. What exactly would be the use of the gotcha net or the monkey radar if there are no monkeys to catch? And naturally, there aren't any Ape Escape 2 exclusive gadgets in this game because, well, there aren't any Ape Escape 2 exclusive gadgets in any other Ape Escape games. But the gadgets that are here are the most functional and most beloved gadgets from the series. You have 5 gadgets: the Slingback Shooter, Stun Club, RC Car, Super Hoop, and Skyflyer. Now, you are capable of switching which 4 gadgets your character uses in between matches, but honestly, I always just end up switching out the Super Hoop for the RC Car or vice versa. The best part is, if you've already played an Ape Escape game, you'll feel right at home with the controls because the gadgets work the exact same way they work in any other Ape Escape game. There are a couple minor additions to the controls, however. By pressing L3, your character gets in a defensive stance. Also, there's a certain gauge on each character that builds up as you do damage to other players, or bosses. Once this gauge reaches a certain level, there are certain button combinations on the face buttons that activate super attacks. For instance, one super attack Helga has is she spins around in circles shooting arrows everywhere. She also has a super arrow shot attack. By the way, you'll notice in most of the gameplay that I play as Helga. That's because she's my favorite character in the game. I'm not sure why. I guess because the story revolves more around her than anyone else. Well, her and the Peepotrons. There are slight differences of how the gadgets are used for some of the characters. For instance, for the slingback shooter, Cassie actually launches energy instead of using a slingback shooter. It's a nice coat of paint, but really, it's the same functionality for every character, so it makes them feel samey in the end. Okay, so we've covered the basic matches. Now I really want to get into the bosses. The boss fights in this game are very huge and very memorable. I mean, it's hard to forget fighting half a giant mechanical monkey on top of a giant flying aircraft carrier. Still, the way you beat them is pretty, well, lame. You just go around and hit them. There's no weak spot. You don't have to outsmart the bosses. You pretty much just dodge and hit whatever you can. Remember some of the clever boss fights in the original Ape Escape? I mean, tricking Jake into driving his car into that wall, or that time you had to shoot out Yellow Monkey's teeth to return him to normal size. The point I'm trying to make is, in the older games, it felt like the developers put a bit more thought into how the bosses could be beaten. Here, they're just Goliaths that you hit a bunch of times, which is funny considering one of them is called a Goliath. Their attacks look really cool. I mean, very interesting energy effects, and they have a decent amount of attacks, so you're not likely to get bored because There's so much coming at you. It's just, I wouldn't call these the best example of an Ape Escape boss fight. Wow, I really need to stop complaining about things. It's starting to feel like a review. Anyway, the bosses are actually very fun, even though they have the lack of specific weaknesses. And after all, it's nice that we have something to break up the monotony of raft racing. And now it's time to talk about customization. You see, there's a nice menu where you can change how your character looks. No, not their faces or height or anything like that, but you could change what clothes they're wearing. You could also change what their gadgets look like and add elemental effects like ice and lightning. But whoa, 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 you don't just get all this stuff, you have to earn it. For completing each challenge successfully, you get fan mail. That's right, monkey fan mail. There's an extra option called the Monkey Fan Club, which you can go into and read letters from monkeys. I have no idea why peak point helmet wearing monkeys are your fans, but I've long given up on trying to come up with a logical explanation for everything that happens in the Ape Escape world. By the way, your character data is saved in a different slot than your main game data. So I guess if you wanted to take your memory card to your friend's house and play there, that works. Of course, I was the only one who owned this game that I knew of. Oh, I haven't talked about multiplayer yet. It's one of the more interesting features of Pumped and Primed. For the first time ever, you can play through the entire game with a friend. Yes, I know it's not your standard Ape Escape game, but still, I love co-op in video games. Then again, it's only co-op after the halfway point, because before that, you're basically beating the crap out of each other with two computers to get in your way. Me and my friend played through the whole game. We stayed up all night. I remember that. Good times. Good times. It would have been nice if they made story mode 4-player, but, you know, kind of cheating there. There wouldn't be any challenge to story mode at all. If you want to play with 4 friends, you can play any of the matches by connecting a multi-tap, which I never owned. Also, in this multiplayer mode, you can play as Jake or Dark Jake. And yes, I always have to say Dark Jake like that. I don't feel I have to go into very much detail about multiplayer because it's single player with more people. It really is. Alright, the main portion of this video is coming to a close. Let's talk about music. The music for Pumped and Primed was actually created by Shuichi Terada. If you check his IMDb, you only find him credited for 3 games: Ape Escape Pumped and Primed, Ape Escape On the Loose, and Ape Escape 3. So it looks like I'll be seeing more of his work later on in this series. Ape Escape music always has a certain feel to it. It can be fast, it can be slow, but it often feels energetic and has a nice techno beat to it. I don't really like talking about music too much. Instead, I'd rather give you some samples and see what you think.
Now take this! Function! Cemetery!
Personally, I feel that in Pumped and Primed, they do a pretty good job of making the music feel more artificial and computerized, which is exactly what you would want for a game where the characters are inside a virtual world. In my opinion, Pumped and Primed isn't the strongest of the Ape Escape games, but it's still a fun game regardless. That concludes my look into it, but as a little bonus, why don't we take a quick look at the other hidden tapes that you can unlock in the game.
Warning, spoilers. You should go and watch these hidden tapes by either playing the game yourself or finding them on YouTube. They are very entertaining. I don't want to ruin them for you. You have been warned.
The Hidden Tape Chronicles, Natalie. So, as I mentioned in the previous video, there are hidden tapes for each character. 2 tapes per character. I've already fully covered Helga and the Peepotrons tapes. However, I thought it might be fun to take a look at the hidden tapes for the rest of the characters. First, Natalie. Now, Natalie's tapes are, for the most part, fancy slideshows. You ever see any of those motion comics? Yeah, that's pretty much what we're getting here. Now let's take a look at what happens in her videos. So in the first video, she goes to the mall and is using some type of screen that apparently teleports clothes onto her. Okay, well that feels like a waste, but whatever. Future! Anyway, she tries on multiple clothes, and then at the end of the video, she somehow ends up in a ape outfit with a peak point helmet. Then Spike just comes out of nowhere and swings his net onto Natalie. Okay, 2 questions. What the heck was Spike doing in the ladies' dressing room? Secondly, why doesn't the net teleport her to the lab? You could say, well, that's because it doesn't work on humans. Oh, wait, it does in Ape Escape 3. Okay, whatever. Kind of funny. Next video. In this video, you see Natalie, and it looks like she's training with her staff. She's slashing all about, and does anyone think that looks like the Smash Brothers logo back there? No one? Okay, anyway, so she's slashing about, she's making pasta, and at the end, apparently the professor and Spike think it tastes terrible. Guess you shouldn't make pasta with your staff. Spike. Alright, for Spike's first video, he sees a bunch of monkeys playing basketball, wearing peak point, and you know what? I'm not even gonna bother asking. He decides he wants to join the monkeys in their basketball game, steals the ball, and goes to dunk the ball. But at the end of an animation, it looks like an ape dunked a peak point helmet on him, and what was the point of that? They wanted to increase his intelligence? Does it increase the intelligence of humans? This animation asks bold new questions of the Ape Escape series. Who am I kidding? It's just silly. Also, it looks like someone drew each individual frame with crayon outside the lines. Oh well, it's a neat effect. In the second Spike video, he finds a monkey riding a skateboard and decides to challenge him to a big race. The race begins and Spike is doing pretty good, and then at the end, the monkey falls into a hole. Yay? Man, Spike's videos are confusing. Speaking of confusing, Cassie. What in the name of all things holy did I just watch? The Professor. Alright, now the Professor's hidden tapes are very strange. Yes, strange compared to that. Why are they strange? Because you have a computer-generated 3D character model being interviewed by a real-life person. How often do you see that? And to make it even stranger, she's a white woman being dubbed with English. What the heck? It just feels so bizarre and creepy to me. I mean, just listen to her.
And now, the result of his research is considered to be one of the most important technologies in the entire world.
So the professor gives her an interview and tells her that his friend, yes, Helga's father, created the virtual world. And yet his friend never mentioned to any of the participants in the virtual world that this one evil guy might be out for vengeance. So after the interview, the real-life woman asks if she can see a preview of the gadgets they'll be using. And oh my gosh, why is he showing her the capture net? The capture net isn't used in the virtual world tournament. Ugh. So she is a big moron and captures herself, and according to the Natalie tape, that's not supposed to work. Okay, next video. Okay, so the interview continues after the woman gets retrieved from wherever she was teleported. And this time the professor wants to show her a new invention. He asks if she wants to try it out, and she, learning her lesson from the stupid net, decides to go against it. So he presses the button himself and blows up the lab. I would ask how come they're still alive, but cartoon logic. Not much to say about this one. One ape. One thing I didn't mention is that you can actually play as a single peak point helmet monkey or a team of peak point helmet monkeys. Right now we're going to be looking at the hidden tapes for the single peak point helmet monkey. So in the first hidden tape, the monkey's walking around, he finds a book about swordsmanship and goes to seek a master. So this guy, who is dubbed in English, decides to take the peak point monkey on as his disciple and teaches him the way of the sword. It's all live action with some guy in a fuzzy monkey suit, and honestly, I feel for that guy if it's really hot out. So he goes through an intense training montage, which includes this funny scene where the guy fashions a toothpick out of a tree. He does some meditation up on Pride Rock in some poorly done CG, and then has a fight with the master surrounded by poorly done CG. After blocking the sword blow, the master declares that the monkey has earned full sword mastership. And then the monkey explains that he didn't come there to learn swordsmanship, he was just returning the guy's book. What a twist! In the second video, the ape is trying to master the hula hula hoop, I guess for super hoop training. He can't get it, so he goes to see a gymnast who is sad and can't show her emotions in the performance. Also, there's terrible dubbing for these humans, so the monkey tries to follow her movements but can't do it. However, in the end, he does manage to make her smile, and that was the point, because her instructor was like, yes, you're smiling, I'm so happy for you. End video. 5 apes. Alright, in the first video, they go to get some sword training like the last ape, and the guy they find to train them is hilarious. He makes them think he's great at deflecting bullets, but he's just using a giant magnet. He makes them train their legs, which is powering his fan. He makes them do construction work for training, and he gets all the money for it. And then they find a geyser and start their own hot spring. Did they accomplish anything? In the next video, the apes want hula hoop training for the super hoop so they get trained by hula girls. Yes, that's seriously all there is to this video. And I'm running out of time, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to say goodbye now. Join me next time, where we will be taking a look at my favorite Ape Escape game of all time. Ape Escape 3. See you in 10 years.